Tensions between the United States and Iran are rapidly approaching one of the most dangerous moments the Middle East has seen in recent years. President Donald Trump convened an emergency national security meeting inside Whitehall to discuss the next phase of the escalating confrontation with Tehran. What began as a diplomatic and military standoff has now into a full-scale general crisis capable of shaky intelligence and shock across the global economy. According to sources familiar with the high-level discussions, Trump entered the meeting increasingly frustrated by the slow and difficult negotiations with Iran, believing Tehran has continued to resist American demands while simultaneously strengthening its military readiness and regional influence. Senior military commanders, intelligence officials, and top administration figures reportedly presented the president with multiple strategic options ranging from expanded naval operations in the Persian Gulf to target airstrikes against Iranian military infrastructure and nuclear-related facilities. Among those attending the tense White House meeting were Vice President Guy Vance, Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth, and several of the nation's highest-ranking military officers. Sources describe the atmosphere inside the meeting as extremely serious, with sharp disagreements emerging between officials who still support diplomacy and those who believe Iran is deliberately buying time while preparing for a broader regional locks. Behind closed doors, the White House is said to be preparing for every possible scenario, including the risk of a direct military front that could spread far beyond Iran itself. Over recent months, the United States has significantly expanded its military footprint throughout the Middle East. Aircraft carriers, stealth bombers, advanced defense systems, surveillance aircraft, and thousands of American deployed to strategic locations surrounding Iran, as Washington attempts to demonstrate overwhelming military preparing for rapid escalation if diplomacy collapses entirely. Military analysts believe the Pentagon is currently examining operational from limited precision strikes into damage Iran's missile and nuclear capabilities are the larger coordinated campaign aimed at crippling key elements of Tehran's military infrastructure. What has deeply concerned American officials is the increasingly defiant posture coming from Tehran. Despite more economic sanctions, naval pressure of American forces in the region, Iranian leaders continue to reject demands from Washington and insist that the country will not surrender under pressure. Iranian military commanders have repeatedly warned that any new American attack would trigger severe response across the Middle East and could ignite conflict unlike anything seen in the region for years. Iranian state television has continued broadcasting images of missile launch systems, underground military installations, jet defense batteries, and Revolutionary Guard units mobilizing near strategic cities and military sites. Across Tehran and other major Iranian cities, anti-American demonstrations have intensified as crowds chant against Washington while government officials urge citizens to remain prepared for what they describe as a historic national struggle. The crisis had now expanded far beyond direct dispute between Washington and Tehran. Armed groups and regional militias allied with Iran in Iraq, Syria, Lebanon, and Yemen are reportedly on high alert, using any new American military action quickly triggering against United States military bases and allied targets throughout Middle East. Intelligence agencies are particularly concerned about the possibility of attacks on shipping routes, energy infrastructure, and military facilities that could spiral into a much larger regional war involving multiple countries and armed factions. One of the most dangerous flaws remains the Strait of Hormuz. The blockade in Port may join the world's oil suppliers every day. A military clash in the area could send global oil prices and create severe economic instability across international markets. Several energy experts have warned that even a brief disruption in the region could trigger worldwide financial turbulence, supply shortages, and inflationary pressure affecting countries far beyond the Middle East. As fears of a wider war continue to grow, governments have intensified diplomatic efforts in attempt to prevent the situation from spiraling out of control. According to Iranian state media delegation and Pakistan recently told Tehran to explore possible paths toward escalation and renewed negotiations. Yeah, they named Pakistan military system Union Foreign Minister of Iraq reportedly focused with to prevent further escalation before the region reaches a point of no return. Thus, however, Iranian officials themselves acknowledge enormous disagreements with Washington still remain unresolved. Iranian Foreign Ministry spokesman named the differences between the two sides as very deep, indicating that additional rounds of difficult negotiations would likely be necessary before a meaningful diplomatic breakthrough could occur. Sources close to the Wales Sham is calm in prison and believes Iran may be testing American resolve. Earlier this week, the president revealed that he had come extremely close to authorizing military action against Iran, before ultimately delaying the operation following pressure from Gulf allies concerned that a full-scale war could destabilize the entire region. Trump's recent sense that was a potentially historic decision. The president cancelled a planned weekend trip to New Jersey and also found he would not attend his soon wedding in the Bahamas, choosing instead to remain in Washington to personally oversee developments surrounding the Iran crisis. Posting on Truth Social, Trump stated that this was an extremely important period for the United States and emphasized that his responsibility was to remain at the White House during what he describes a critical moment for national security and the future of American interests abroad. Across the world, governments, intelligence agencies, and military analysts are now watching every move made by Washington and Tehran with growing concern. Experts warn that even a single mistake, whether involving a naval confrontation, missile exchange, or accidental military clash, could ignite the largest and most dangerous Middle Eastern course in many years. Although diplomatic channels have not completely cut, neither side appears willing to back down, leaving the region balanced on the edge of a potentially catastrophic war that could reshape the political and military landscape of Middle East for to come.